to vote somebody the MVP when there's a sense overwhelmingly of a very popular athlete. Years ago, sports reporter Fred Hickman voted for Allen Iverson MVP. Shaq got every vote except one. Shaq still holds it against him. Hickman was criticized. How can you vote for that? But Allen Iverson was incredibly valuable to the Sixers. He got the Sixers to a finals. What were they without him? I'm not even sure if they were a playoff team without him. I didn't think it was outrageous. Here's what's interesting. Aaron Rodgers is going to be, and I do think Aaron is incredibly valuable, but Fox Bets has the odds for the MVP, and it's really a two-person race, Aaron and Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen is considered kind of a complete long shot. I don't think he's going to win it, but it's kind of ridiculous that he's not in the same class, and I'll give you an example. So valuable to me is, what do you work with? How important are you? So Mahomes, let's take him, works with a tight end having the greatest tight end season ever, arguably the best tight end in football, arguably a top 5 tight end of all time. A wide receiver named Tyreek Hill, 15 touchdowns, 1,200 yards, fastest player in the NFL, and a head coach in Andy Reid who's probably the best play caller, he and Sean Payton, last 20 years in football. Aaron Rodgers works with an offensive line that's rated #1 in pass protection, a wide receiver that leads the league in TD receptions, a running back who's the 4th leading rusher, and a young, clever, progressive offensive coach. Josh Allen works with Stephon Diggs, and that's where it ends. The offensive line is the worst of the 3 in average, running back slightly below average, head coach defensive-minded, and the tight end, you tell me, a non-factor. It's not called BVP, best quarterback, right? It's just most valuable quarterback. MVP, most best quarterback. That's not it. It's most valuable. He's also, by the way, the most valuable asset to his team's overall offense. He's got 8 rushing touchdowns, along with his 34 passing touchdowns. So he is intricate and important for the running game. He's just doing more with less. I mean, people say he's got Stephon Diggs. Even look at what he's done with Stephon Diggs this year. Stephon Diggs was with the very capable Kirk Cousins for years. He averaged 900 receiving yards, 73 catches, and 6 touchdowns. Without a preseason for a young Josh Allen, he's going to end up with probably 1,500 yards, 125 catches, and 8 or 9 touchdowns. That's with no preseason and no OTA. So all I'm making is the argument that it should be a 3-person race here. I would vote for Aaron, but I've said I would vote for Josh in a close second. I think he's as important and working with less than Aaron with a defensive coach, and defensive coaches see the world differently. They want you to run the ball, eat the clock, win by 3, and get out of town. Offensive coaches, their egos are in clever and multiple sets and giving you a different look. That's part of the ego of being an offensive coach. Those are considered the smarter of the coaches, the offensive coaches, the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans, the offensive wizardry, right? The defensive guys are like tough guys. They beat up the offensive guy in an octagon. You win, you play football, special teams, Brian Flores. You don't want to mess with Tomlin or Brian Flores. They're tough guys. So, I mean, I just kind of look at Josh Allen. I think it's kind of ridiculous. It's not a 3-team race. And I think it's ridiculous that you can't even put him in second without getting pushback. I would have it Rodgers slightly, and I mean slightly above Josh Allen. In fact, Sunday could change it for me. And Mahomes actually a little more distant third. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
You know what's funny too, Joy? In the NBA, Josh Allen would win it because in the NBA, it's about the story, and his story's better. And also in the NBA, Mahomes and Rodgers would be criticized because they're, like super teams. I mean, Mahomes is on a super team, whereas in the NBA, you get value working with, like Russell Westbrook. Durant leaves, he gets a triple-double by himself. So Josh Allen as an NBA player would be a much more intriguing story, and he'd probably win it.
I think the issue is, similarly with NBA and with NFL, is the naming of the award. Because we can never decide what is the criteria. Like last year, Giannis got it mainly because he had better numbers than he had the year before when he won it.
Yeah.
Like that was just the only argument. Like, well, he won last year and he has better numbers this year. Like, okay, but that's not what the award is. It's not a numbers award. Like, so what is the award? I think doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same way.
Right.
But I think it's really most outstanding player.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, I think MOP. what it should
Mop
be.
is not as good as MVP.
Right.
But that's what it is. Like if we reprogram ourselves to stop thinking of the word value and just think who is the most outstanding player this year?
Yeah,
that's really what the award is.
Yeah, and then I would say Aaron Rodgers won, Josh Allen 1A, and Mahomes, who's had a bad December,
But
won.
then, doesn't that make you feel more comfortable?
Absolutely.
Giving it to Aaron Rodgers?
Absolutely.
So let's all just decide together.
Well,
let's all in agreement. We are the truth brokers of the United States of
Honesty
America.
brokers in America.
Yes.
Well, the Heisman's had the same issue where it always goes to a quarterback. And there have been years where the best player, like Chase Young was the best player in college football, but it's just understood the Heisman is just a quarterback award. It's like, or a running back out of a system which runs the ball for, like Clemson's running backs behind a bunch of NFL offensive linemen are always going to have big yards.
Right. Most outstanding player.
Right.
Let's just reprogram ourselves. So Tua is playing the biggest game of his young career on Sunday. If the Dolphins win, they secure their spot in the postseason. But Tua is not putting any extra pressure on himself to get the win.
I'd say for me, there's really, no extra added pressure for me. I would say the expectation for myself is very high in, how I perform and how I go out there and try to lead the guys to victory. Obviously, this past weekend, I didn't play to that standard. And, it's